Hello. Recently, the Council of State met and passed a vote of confidence on Tinubu and his government. Now, I see this vote of confidence coming immediately after the recent protests, not only a betrayal of the people by these self-proclaimed leaders, but also an invitation to another perhaps violent protest. What these leaders have said as a collective is that they didn't hear the voices of the masses. They didn't hear their voices. Are they not provoking the people? How insensitive can our leaders be? Well, welcome to this 15th episode of Newspaper Headlines. Now, the National Council of State, another constitutional drain pipe comprising probably 50 Nigerian leaders, exists to advise the executive branch of government on critical policy matters and offer counsel to help the president deliver the dividends of democracy to the people. At its recent meeting, not one word was offered by these leaders to repair the policies that have brought the nation to where it is today. At least so far, not to the knowledge of the public. Not one of the protesters' numerous demands came up for consideration by these insensitive men and Tinubu's government of hope. Not a little consequential counsel was offered for Tinubu to trim down his cabinet and offer even a cosmetic reduction in the cost of governance or do something, anything, as a palliative response to the protests. But they are diligent enough to identify and block the sources of funding for the protests and arrest what they call political collaborators of the protests, but cannot channel the same energy to cushion the pains of the people. And Nigeria is one huge land of waste, but they won't address that. Not be only rice, yam and fish. The president and his vice and their wives, ministers and heads of agencies, despite what they once regarded as massive reduction in travel costs, still do foreign and local trips with entourages that are frightening. Their wives do official foreign trips with delegations. What for? How many times have you heard about foreign leaders' wives visiting Nigeria with fanfare? Instead of the constitutionally prescribed 37 ministers, Tinubu's cabinet comprises 48 ministers, the largest ever recorded in our democratic experiment. He recently even added the Ministry of Livestock to the list. Which kind thing be this? What happened to Tinubu's plan to revisit the Oronsai report that provides recommendations to cut the cost of governance? What happened to that report? Think about this. The USA's population is more than 1.5 times that of Nigeria. Now, Nigeria has 109 senators and 360 House of Rep members. Proportionately, therefore, the US should have 170 senators and 565 House of Rep members. But it has far less. Yet it is a superpower. It has a bigger landmass and is more complex to govern. The GDP per head of Nigeria is only $2,500. That of the United States is $85,000 per head. More than 34 times that of Nigeria. Yet the US watches its governance costs. Now, the average per head cost of US congressmen is $174,000 per annum, and they have maintained this figure for 15 years. Officially, on paper, a Nigerian senator's monthly salary is about 1 million naira. But Shehu Sani, a former senator, says he received 13 million naira a month and he should know because he was one of them. A Kano senator confesses he takes home 21 million monthly, equaling that of a US senator going by today's exchange rate. And that is the figure we are told, though. What of the ones we are not told? What lawmakers take home in Nigeria is at best shrouded in deep mystery. They even receive what is labeled hardship allowance. You see, who should get a hardship allowance in Nigeria? Lawmakers or the masses? Public officers simply lie about facts to cover their tracks. We will never know the extent of the wastage in our governance. Recently, Tinubu approved 300% salary increase for judges. Of course, they brought him to power. They should get their pay for their part in the power stealing. Now, instead of offering Tinubu advice on how to reduce this wastage to help the people, the Council of State gathered to mock the misery of Nigerians. Why did they choose this time to meet? They came, wined, dined, smiled, took group photographs, shook hands, asked the man to continue what they called his good work, and returned to their homes. What did they achieve? Well, you can't blame them, can you? In their minds, they've conquered Nigerians. The fact that the protesters called off the protests without landing a blow where it hurts has emboldened these pharaohs to dig in their heels. As far as Tinubu's government is concerned, they squelched the protests and have no obligation to change any of their policies or tactics. Look, the earlier Nigerians wised up to the fact that they have deaf, stone-hearted leaders, the better for them. God said Pharaoh's heart will be hardened. Now, like the proverbial Pharaoh, these Nigerian taskmasters feel justified to double the burden on the people to crush and silence them for good. The lesson is clear. The next time the people get in the ring to square with their oppressors, they must perfect a strategy that delivers an unforgettable blow. A blow that pierces someone's deaf ears through. The protests didn't land a logical conclusion, thereby appearing to give victory to these bad policymakers. Now, they square their shoulders and beat their chests as victors in the contest. You see it in Dele Alake's arrogant posturing and his labeling the protests as an unsuccessful attempt at regime change. You also see it in Tinubu's unusual confident steps in front of the group of betraying leaders.
The National Security Advisor also was on hand to present the security situation of the country, and he did inform the Council of State, about the pre, during, and post events of the last protests, which I do not call a protest. I call a movement to effect a change of regime by force, which was also resisted. And so, the council thanked Nigerians at large for resisting any unconstitutional move to change government. If anybody is not satisfied with the government, any current administration, there's always an election coming. So you wait for election and cast your vote the way you deem fit.
You see, wait for next election, knowing fully well they will snatch it as usual and run with it. They even smiled provocatively at the camera when more contrite leaders would be sober. Thank God for one man that still has some honor left, Olusegun Obasanjo. He shunned the meeting for good reason, giving the other lame ducks the shameless liberty to deliver a unanimous vote of confidence of Tinubu. Imagine the temerity and the timing. Vote of confidence. In other words, the guy should carry on with what he is doing. That is, continue economically beating down and impoverishing Nigerians. In fact, a bill was tabled at the House of Reps to make public protests criticizing government policies and not singing the new national anthem jail offenses. Simply put, it was a bill to finally kill freedom of speech in Nigeria. But the fire of God come make them withdraw the bill. This not the people wey our ex-presidents and sitting governors go give vote of confidence. You simply get the impression that as soon as these former and present leaders stepped into Tinubu's court, they were handed a portion of the infamous Tinubu bribe to put a stamp of approval on his desires. It gives credence to the assertion that there is no one Tinubu cannot buy. But that has to be a lie. He will need to rob a huge bank to buy the likes of Obasanjo. Thank God, there are some Nigerians you can't buy. I don't care how many billions you can be bought with, you are still cheap. Money will always reveal who a person really is. But what juju afflicts Nigerians when they come close to the corridors of power? Do these clowns realize that that vote of confidence alienates them from the people they represent, and that back home they must prepare to face retribution? Do they realize that their reputation belongs where Tinubu's reputation is? Well, see you next episode though.